Hello and welcome back to Soul Search Sunday with Johnny Tiger on June 13, 2021. Today is 端午节. What is that, you mean? You may ask. 端午节 is a Chinese holiday. Uh, there's an origin of dragon boating, of rice dumpling. Uh, that's usually a lot of waterfront activities, a lot of boats and drumming and a lot of good cheers. Uh, in a sense, the 端午节, you can call it the Dragon Boat Day, or some people call it the Qu Yuan's Day. Qu Yuan was the Chinese politician and poet, very successful Chinese poet and philosopher that killed himself in protest of the cruelty and bad policies the emperor was making. We're talking about thousands of years ago. And because Qian was such a beloved person by the civilians, after he killed himself, the civilians, uh, because they didn't want the fish in the river to eat his body, he killed himself by throwing himself in the river and he drowned, by the way. Um, so, long story short, the civilians didn't want the fish and the aquatic creatures to be eating his body, so they created these long canoe-like boats and dress them up like dragons so it would scare the fish and other creatures away from the area. And they threw rice into the lake, into the river, to satisfy the hunger of these fish and shrimp and turtle and frog and other creatures, so they would not disturb Qian's body. That is the origin, a very short version. For a more complete version, then please check out the Johnny Tiger Experience podcast. I told that story on the podcast before, about 20 episodes ago, but you can still find it. It's on one of the Tales from the Far East segment. By the way, you can find the Johnny Tiger Experience podcast on any podcast platform by just searching for Johnny Tiger Experience, and you will find it. So, today is Dragon Boat Day, 端午节, uh, one of the more cheerful, one of the more celebrated holidays of my people. I really missed 端午节 after I came to Canada. It's not really a big thing here. I mean, some Chinese communities do put on a bit of a show and celebration, but for the most part, no one know about it. No one here celebrates it, and I missed it a lot because it's one of the holidays that I really looked forward to when I was growing up. Why did I really look forward to this holiday? Because of the rice dumpling. What are rice dumplings? Well, they are dumplings made from sticky rice. They usually have pork or chicken and egg yolk and mushrooms and other vegetables in them. They are shaped slightly like a pyramid and usually can be about the size of your hand or a lot bigger, depending on the person making them. In Mandarin, they are called 粽子, 粽子. And if you are wondering, no, we are not doing Wisdom Wednesday. This is still Soul Search Sunday, so bear with me for a little while. When I was growing up, I really looked forward to 端午节, the Dragon Ball Day, every year because Maru, my nanny, was one of the best 粽子 maker, one of the best rice dumpling makers in our city. She would make them by hand, and it's quite a tedious process. You have to buy the sticky rice and you have to cook them and soak them so they're ready to be shaped. And then you have to cook the ingredients, so the meat, the vegetables, and stuff like that. And then you got to form them into the exact pyramid kind of shape. And then you got to wrap them up in bamboo leaves and then tie them up with a string. So it's very specific. Like you can't mess it up, and if the shape is wrong or if the ingredient is too little or too much, it has to be really specific because it's such a traditional food for this holiday. Maru, the woman that basically like a mother to me, who brought me up, she was one of the best rice dumpling makers in our city, and people from far away would actually come and buy the rice dumplings she would make. So every year when Dragon Boat Day came around, she would be starting to get ready about a week ahead, and then she would spend every day from morning to night, just working in front of the stove, making sure the ingredients were ready and forming these rice dumplings. She would make hundreds and hundreds of them to sell to people who order from her and to make sure that she had enough for her own family and my family. I loved her cooking. I loved the rice dumplings she made, and I was talking to her a couple of days ago, and uh, she is very old now, and she no longer has the energy to make these rice dumplings like she used to. So she was kind of sad because this is Dragon Ball Day was coming up, and she felt totally useless because so many people still remind her of how great her rice dumplings used to be. I mean, we all do it in good spirit. We do it as appreciation to thank her for making them so well. But to her, it feels like we are rubbing it in that she can no longer do it. So it's a kind of a depressing subject for her. I also last night got to talk with my mom on the phone, and my mom asked me. She said, "Hey, now tomorrow's Dragon Boat Day. You going to have any rice dumpling?" And I said, "No, I don't think so." My mom said, "Why not? Don't you know where to buy them?" I said, "Yeah, I do. I actually know of only one Chinese restaurant here locally that sells them, but they want $5 each." Now, to put it into perspective, $5 Canadian is equivalent of $100 Taiwanese. And in Taiwan, for $100 Taiwanese, you can buy five rice dumplings, not one. So I said to my mom, I said, "No, I'm not willing to pay $5 for each. Uh, Not when I know how cheap they are at home. It will just make me feel ripped off." And then my mom had one of these very rare moments of wisdom and compassion. And she said to me, she said, "You know what? You really need to stop sacrificing yourself." I said, "What do you mean?" "I'm not sacrificing myself. They are too expensive. I don't want to get ripped off." My mom said, "Look, if I were there with you, if I, for some reason, I'm in Canada spending Dragon Ball Day with you, and I tell you, I really would like some rice dumpling. You know it. and I know it, that you would buy some for me, even if they want $30 each. I was like, well, yeah, but I mean, that's different. That you're my mom. She said, no. If you would buy them for me, if you would buy them for your friend, then you need to buy them for yourself. You should not deny from yourself what you wouldn't deny others. I got to admit, I kind of went into shock a little bit at that point, and because it's kind of rare for my mom to come up with something that zen, that logical, that philosophical, and that uh, nice. Really, it was really nice. Um, and she was completely right. I realized at that moment, she's right. I am going to buy myself some rice dumplings and celebrate Dragon Ball Day, even though I'm celebrating on my own. But I'm going to treat myself to the food that was I grew up with. I'm not going to deny myself just because it's a measly $5 or $10. Because she's right. If it was her or anyone else, I would buy it without a second thought. I think in our lifetime, we all heard the phrase, don't do unto others what you wouldn't do to yourself or what you wouldn't want done to you. But very often we forget the opposite spectrum of that, which is just as my mother said, don't deny yourself what you wouldn't deny others. Don't deny yourself what you wouldn't deny others. That is very basic self-care tip. If you take nothing away from this episode, then I strongly urge you to keep this phrase in your mind. Do not deny yourself what you wouldn't deny others. Because if we make a habit of sacrificing or martyring, uh, turning ourselves into martyrs, turning ourselves into sacrificial lambs, and teaching ourselves that we can go without, then in the end, we are being cruel to ourselves. We are being cruel to that inner child. We are not being fair to that inner child. Remember that old phrase? A person who doesn't love themselves cannot love others or cannot be loved by others. Furthermore, it's not just for ourselves. We need to remember to extend this to people around us. Do not deny things from people we love, things that we wouldn't deny others. Because this is also a big phenomenon that happens in family, in relationship. Sometimes we think it's okay for us to sacrifice ourselves. So we, by proxy, think it's okay to sacrifice those people we love just to make others happy. That is a big, big trap for you to fall into. It's a big, big, um, dangerous, slippery slope down into a very deep hole. When I was growing up, I totally experienced that at home all the time. My parents, if they were talking to their friend, and their friend said, "Oh my God, my son just got his report card and he got a C. How dare he? He he's not studying hard enough." Now, my parents would actually say, "No, no, take it easy on the kid. No, it's okay. He still passed. It's okay. And he see it's all right. You know, don't pressure your kids so much. Give them some freedom." My parents would be so reasonable, but If me or my sister or brother was to come home with a C, holy moly, it was like the end of the world. It was like punishment, no dinner, beating, and then more beating, and then more no dinner. It was that big of a difference. I remember asking my dad one time, why is it okay for Uncle Wang's son to get a C? And why is it not okay for me? My dad, without a second thought, said, because you're my son. Uncle Wang's son, I don't care what he get. You are my son. You're not allowed to get C. Sounded almost logical, especially back then when I was a child. But now I think about it, my parents denied from us the basic understanding and courtesy and forgiveness that they gave to other people and other people's children. In my previous relationship, every time I went to visit my girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, no, previous relationship, I already said that. Every time I went to visit her, I had to sleep on the floor because she only had a single bed. And so it was either me sleep in the bed and she slept on the floor, which I would never allow that, or as happened all the time, I slept on the floor. 18 years I was in that relationship. 18 years I slept on the floor every time I went to spend the night there. But every time, either family members came over to visit her, or other friends came over to visit her, they slept on the bed. She slept on the floor. So in a sense, she allowed me to sleep on the floor while she wouldn't let other friends or relatives do the same. Now, to be fair, like I already said, even if she offered for me to have the bed and she sleep on the floor, I wouldn't allow that to happen anyway. But the fact of the matter is, in the end, she denied from me what she wouldn't deny from others. So, like I said, many times we either knowingly or unknowingly extend this mentality of sacrifice, this mentality of martyrdom, this mentality of denial onto those closest to us because we take it for granted that it's okay for us to sacrifice and deny ourselves. So it's okay for them to be denied as well because after all, we are on the same team. I remember this family friend that I grew up knowing. It's actually my mom's good friend, and so I call her Aunt Grace. Every time we went out for meals together, Aunt Grace would say to her children, "Don't eat so much. Let Auntie Ty and Johnny have the food. Don't eat so much. You guys, we can go home and eat later." And that used to make me feel so awkward. And in the end, I wouldn't even have any appetite either. I would feel kind of embarrassed and I didn't want to eat either. Because she was forcing her own children to go without because she thought that was a nice, proper, right thing to do. In the end, it's all boiled down to if you truly want your life to be happy, if you truly want your life to be content, if you truly want people around you to be happy and content, then remember, do not deny from yourself. what you wouldn't deny others. Thank you for checking out today's Soul Search Sunday. We'll be back again tomorrow for Music Monday. For now, have a good night.